Well, good evening, guys. This is Tim Lazenby. Finally managed to get my act together and sort out some video editing software and half decent webcam. So hopefully, this is all working, and we shall be able to make a bit of a video about several things. But I think initially just to talk about my Ibogaine experience, because this is a week on now. From my Ibogaine trip, for want of a better word, and I just really can't believe the change in myself. I took Ibogaine because I've done quite a lot of DMT. I say quite a lot. I've taken DMT about 50 times, and I sort of consider that on the table. I consider that I kind of know a fair amount about DMT from what I've read and what I've my own experiences, and without getting into the kind of the Terence McKenna-esque machine elves and all this kind of thing. I just like to talk about the actual experiences and what it's done for me. Now, I personally last year went through rehab because I got a little bit carried away with ketamine and one or two other things, and it was a very good experience. I did to say 6 months in a what do you call it when you go and stay at the rehab? I can't remember. Can't remember the word of it. Anyway, very interesting. We use CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, where you kind of think your thoughts through, and it was very good in the fact that I came to terms with some things from my childhood, namely my father dying when I was 4 years old, and I sort of carried that. Apparently I carried this through to my adult life. This is why I used to drink and take drugs, but. Something didn't really, I don't know what it was, something didn't really fit me. The idea that you can rationalise your feelings and get rid of an addiction, it just didn't really sit with me. I mean, it was very interesting, and it kind of worked on one level, but I left rehab, moved to London to work for my brother, and all the time my brain was just going, yeah, any minute you're going to start drinking again, and it was like, well, why not? I mean, it's never killed me. All it's really resulted in me spending quite a lot of money, and kind of not really having fantastic relationships. But I'm kind of quite a solitary person anyway, so that's not really bothered me. I'm an easygoing person. I'm easy to get on with, but I don't get involved in a lot of relationships with anybody. I just kind of like to keep people at a distance. And maybe that's something again from my child. I don't know. So I started drinking again, and I was okay with it. Sometimes I would get a little bit carried away, and sometimes I wouldn't. I thought I sort of had it under control. I'm 52 years old, so I'm putting a bit of weight on. I thought, well, that's just normal, 52 years old, a bit of middle-aged spread, but not really happy with myself. And then through my sort of research, I came across Ibogaine, and I remember reading something about an 84% success rate with opiate addictions and some success with alcohol addictions and that kind of thing, and it was just kind of the way I am, because I've always taken DMT on my own, apart from a couple of occasions with friends. And everybody said, "Oh, you should do that. It's very scary and all the rest of it." But I mean, the experience can be life changing. It can be, scary is not the right word. It's just kind of so different that I would imagine is why people say, "Oh, you should do it on your own." But anyway, that's what I've done, and so I've read about Ibogaine, and I wasn't really thinking about I needed to take Ibogaine to get off alcohol or anything like that, but I was just thought it's kind of the next thing, and it's kind of more of a healer than a just an experience, a spiritual experience. Although there is some spiritual experience in that, and I certainly felt that. So I did a lot of investigating, and it's a hellish thing to get hold of, and really and truly you need to go to, I think there's two places that do Ibogaine therapies. What's that word for when play somewhere. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, so it's like $7,000. You know, oh, bloody hell, that's a lot of money. Anyway, I managed to find a place in the Netherlands which sells Ibogaine HCl, which is sort of kind of the purest form, I guess you probably want to say. And if that's not correct, you know, please correct me. But anyway, I'm not going to get into all the chemistry of the thing. But so they were willing to sell me after some questions about my health and you know, my heart and my liver, and how I was in a doctor and was I doing the doctor's recommendation, that kind of thing. I finally took possession of 1 gram of Ibogaine HCl. So anyway, I was due to go to Glastonbury Festival 2 weeks ago on a bit of a dodgy ticket. You know, it was always going to be a bit of a whether I was going to get in or not. And anyway, I got rejected. Came home. Came back to like a little parcel note delivery. We tried to deliver. No, it had been delivered. Beg your pardon. It had been delivered. And I thought, well, you know, I'm not at Glastonbury. This is as good a time as any. I had 3. This was a Thursday, so Thursday and Friday booked off work anyway. So I had the sort of Saturday and the Sunday, because apparently it was a 24, 48-hour experience. So I had the whole weekend to get over the experience. So, you know, when I got back to work, I was sort of fully fit, kind of thing. That was the thinking, and it actually worked out very well. But little had I mean, I'd read about Ibogaine. I'd read that you should do it with a sitter, you know, etc., etc., etc. You know, I wasn't expecting it to be easy, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is, if you're the kind of person that would try and do this on your own, I wouldn't say don't do it. I would say read as much as you can, and obviously watch this video and pay attention. It is the hardest fucking thing I've ever done to my body. It's absolutely, it's not excruciating, it's not painful in the sense that, you know, it doesn't hurt, but it's so full on, it's so like in your fucking face, throwing up all the time, you know, then sort of the waves of nausea, then the sort of like plateaus of like feeling okay for a little bit, only a brief, you know, couple of minutes, then nausea again, you know, and I did it, I consider properly. I fasted. I didn't eat anything from about. It was probably a good 24 hours before. You know, I remember I might have had a few bits of fruit or something, and water. So I woke up with a pretty empty stomach. I think I might have had a cup of coffee. So 10 o'clock on Thursday, I dropped the whole lot into wraps. And kind of waited, and about 2 hours into it, I was actually thinking, "Fucking, I wasted my money. I should be feeling something by now. You know, distorted vision or whatever." And it was about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and then sort of the vision started to, you know, when you have any kind of psychedelic experience, the light changes and your vision sort of changes, and becomes more acute. You sort of start to see things. Is probably the best way I can describe it, on the peripherals of your vision. And then I thought, oh, you know, I think I really do need to have a bit of a lie down. I'm starting to feel a bit queasy now. So I lay down on my bed, and that was better, because they describe it as kind of being like at sea, like sort of kind of seasickness, but it's nothing like that. It's far worse. So I lay down on my bed, and then the first, you know, band of nausea hit me, and I threw up in the toilet, and it was like everything that I had in my body. And I kind of thought, well, that's not too bad, you know. I've thrown up before. Lay down again, got up, threw up again, lay down again, and then it was really kind of, it almost felt like there was it almost felt like it was a load of like gremlins running around my body, getting all the crap out of every crevice, put it in my stomach for me to throw up. Some of the things that I threw up were just, you know, and this is why this stuff has to be researched, because God only knows what you're throwing up. I mean, in one sort of throw, I caught it in a bowl, and it looked like almost like dead red blood cells, like a kind of red haze in the sick. And several different things that you just went, what in holy hell is that? But all the time it was happening, I must say this, all the time it was happening, even though it was excruciating and painful in the sense that, you know when you've thrown up a nut, there's nothing else to throw up, and you're still trying to retch. That's quite scary. But I remember thinking, this was two things. One, because I was doing it on my own, and again, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments about, how stupid the rest of it. But, I know myself, I know my body. I'm sort of fairly hardcore in that kind of sense of thing. I can look after myself. But I also felt a couple of times, it's almost a physical feeling of someone taking me by the hand to the toilet and sort of like almost like rubbing my back and it's going to be okay, like a spiritual kind of awareness, something there. And just that kind of feeling of I wasn't alone. And of course, then you have these kind of visions. Normally, I didn't really have my eyes open, but definitely a sense that something was helping me. But when you shut your eyes, you just see all these faces go past you. People I didn't know. Maybe people from the past I don't know. And I'm not saying I necessarily subscribe to this. It's the spiritual ancestor and all the rest of it, but there is definitely something there helping and guiding you. So it was a major thing. So then then kind of the nausea subsides eventually, and you're kind of feeling okay, and you're feeling a little bit obviously dehydrated because you want some water, so you just drink water, maybe a bit of fruit, something like that. Food doesn't really taste or anything, so there's no real point in eating really. So just keep the hydration going, and then the sort of Friday evening I started to feel a lot better. Saturday morning I woke up and I just felt like $1 million. Absolute million. And I just knew from that point I'm never going to drink again alcohol, never. And the other little, if anybody's tried to go out drinking and has failed and sort of gone backwards and forwards with it, you get that little voice in your head going, yeah, you're going to drink one day and all that. Well, there's almost like two voices in your head, one sort of saying no, one saying yes. And in my head, the one that's saying yes is always rationalised and made, oh, it's going to be fine, just drink this time, be fine. But now that voice is very, very still there, but it's very, very quiet, and the other voice is much more rational, sort of, well, you know what it takes, you know what happens to you, it costs a lot of money, you're going to feel like shit the next day. It's just unbelievable. I even went to a rock concert today with a friend, which we booked before I took the Ibogaine to see Black Sabbath, and I went there with him today, and he was like, yeah, let's get on it, let's do this, get some coke, and I said, I can't, mate, I really, I can't, I just can't do it, and because it sort of upset him a bit because he was looking forward to the whole day and us getting drunk, and I'm sorry, I can't do it, I just can't, I'm happy to be here. And actually I came home because it was just watching people get drunk and just falling around and being dicks. It just has no interest for me anymore. So that's kind of it. A bit of background about me. I'm 51 years old. As I said, my father died when I was 4 years old, so that's kind of something I've dragged through my life with me, and I know it's affected my relationship. I know it's affected the way I view life, drinking, etc. It kind of improved when I got married. I was married for 15 years. I had a daughter who was 17, and that kind of stabilised me a bit more. But then I went off the edge again. Nearly went to prison for possession of a taser, of all things. Just looking back on this whole episode of my life, it's crazy. But I was kind of headed that way again, if I'm honest, with drinking, and it was only a matter of time, I think. I know myself, but this Ibogaine, it's just, I read about it saying, oh, it's 8% success rate with, you read these things as unsubstantiated figures from people, whoever, and I would say actually they're probably right. It is literally like you've taken a magic pill. It really is. It's quite incredible. So anyway, I'm going to hopefully I'll post this on Facebook. Any questions? About Ibogaine or any other psychoactive substance, then please give me a shout. I actually make DMT myself as well, so if anybody wants any help with that. It's been very, very interesting last week, and long may it continue. And thank you to Ibogaine World for selling the stuff to me in the first place. So take care.